All right, hey guys. So I've been looking at my videos and stuff, and I'm gonna be cliche, sue me, but like a good chunk of y'all niggas aren't subscribed that be watching my videos. Like I'm actually a little not depressed, but like damn. So yeah, you already know what I want to say. I'm not gonna say it, but let's get to the main point of that little long ass intro. I am trying to since my first parts of all my what ifs seem to do so good, I'm gonna do maybe like 1 or 2 parts of a what if, but I'm gonna increase the duration of them to see if that helps out. And since I'm gonna be recording all these videos in bulks and stuff, we're gonna just see how it turns out. All right. With that out of the way, let's get into the video. So this what if is going to be different than all the rest. This what if takes place in a different universe, but yet the same universe almost at the same time. But instead of just having your typical heroes, you have a special breed of heroes. You have the Apex Legends with all unique different abilities and different quirks and different attributes. There's your standard hero system. And then there's your more unique heroes, okay? There's the individuals that are different than the rest, okay? They are known as Apex Legends. They're almost like heroes of heroes, if you may, kind of, sort of. And some have popularity, some keep to themselves, some you question how they even became a hero to begin with. And most of them either have some unique forms of achievements, or they are just known for taking care of a lot of business. We don't know when they got here, how they got here, if they're from a different world or not, but we do know they're here. So with this information, let's get into the story. So now we're going to talk about how, this affects the story, because this is what if Deku was trained by Mirage. And with that being said, Deku is trained by Mirage, okay? But not in the same sense. Instead of All Might being his, worship, he worships Mirage. Now let's get into how this is the point of case. So this happened when your boy's dumb young, all right? And and he's like, growing up with what's this dude's name? Bakugo. And Bakugo, they're going back and forth, okay? Talking about, no, All Might's better. No, Mirage is better. And so Mirage is, you got different times. Look, he took out all these villains by himself. So did All Might. Blah, blah, blah. They're just going back and forth. And then so All Might, Bakugo kind of relates to All Might in the sense of, he's got all this destruction and, he just takes them down, while Mirage is more corny and more wacky, and he bamboozles his opponents instead of just going for brute force, something to that effect, all right? So with that being said, he's like, look, he did all that by himself. He was able to save so many people, blah, blah, blah. And they're just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And literally they'll sit there and have arguments all day, every day. But something that Deku also looks is, look, he doesn't even really have a quirk. Due to the simple fact is, it's not, weary, or it's not like known if they have quirks per se as like it would be for other heroes. So it's like, does he have a quirk? It's not something like for a fact. It's just kind of like some guesswork, okay? But as far as they're concerned, he doesn't even have a quirk, and he's still able to take down all these villains. And he's still as good to hand. So Deku even looks up to him even more. While All Might is just like this overpowered beast of a monster, okay? So, with that being said, some time passes, Deku realizes he's quirkless, but he, what he does is he says, I'm not going to give up. He starts looking into Mirage's background. And there's we'll just say there's a place you can go to learn more about the Apex Legends. And yeah. So Deku's learning about the Apex Legend, and he learns about the hologram technology, right? And so then what he decides to do is he decides to try to, replicate that. And Deku's a very smart kid. So we're going to say he spends a good chunk of his time trying to mimic and trying to copy the technology throughout the years, though. So we got to keep this in context, all right? Deku only sees, and if you know anything about Apex, this is going to be wonderful. And if you don't, this is going to be wonderful on either end. So Deku realizes something. Mirage is like so cool, so confident, and he always has the perfect joke for the perfect scenario. And like, he's just like a really cool guy. And so Deku basically bases his whole personality off of that, you know? He learns how to tell jokes. He learned how to be witty. He learns how to be clever. He learns how to outmaneuver situations and think. But with Deku being like this, Bakugo does attempt to bully him, but since, you know, Deku's all about, you know, trying to be witty and trying to be clever and, you know, stuff like this, right? They actually do come to blows, but Bakugo just can't, like, you know, beat him outright. It's kind of like always like a weird stalemate where like Bakugo's tired and Deku's tired. Even though Deku took a good chunk of the beating, he's not just completely, you know, out of it, right? So with this information, we basically go through, you know, some years. Nothing too special happens, nothing major or like big body happens. It's just, you know, Deku trying to figure out how to, you know, like replicate and make the holograms. And he's able to always make the holograms, but he can't make them talk, or he can't make them walk properly, or he can't sync his movements. And then instead of him meeting All Might or something to that effect, he's, you know, running throughout, you know, somewhere, and, you know, he sees like a really weird looking bar, okay? And don't ask me why he went to, no, let's see here. Why did he go to the bar? Let's just say there's an issue or something, right? And he runs to a bar and he sees it's actually Mirage's bar. And he runs, he's like, help, I need a hero. Do anybody have a phone? Help. And this Deku's about, you know, 14. We just gonna let it skip. If something happens, we'll have a flashback, damn it. He's like, help, I can only, my decoys can only hold out for so long. They're not nearly as good as Mirage. So as Mirage is drinking, and this will make sense for the people that do know who Mirage is, he's gonna realize that someone's actually in his bar, so he has to, you know, turn the persona on. And he's like, he basically slouches up and like jumps up and said, Mirage to the rescue. And I can't really do his voice per se, but he's like, all right, what's the problem, kiddo? And then Deku's like, oh, it's Mirage, the Apex level, or the Predator hero, or not Predator hero, but like, you know, the Apex Legend heroes. And he's like, of course it is. Watcha. He does like a weird dance move or something. He's like, of course it is. What can I help you with? And then so they run out. There's someone. There's a villain. A villain is attacking someone. Let's just say it's your typical villain, right? And we need your help. I got my decoys out there distracting him. And Mirage is like, decoys? I thought I was the only one that had decoys. He looks at him and he sees like a very old replica, like an old model of like what Mirage decoys and stuff could do. And he's like, okay, no time to think, time to move. Let's go. And so they basically, him and Deku head out. Now this Deku isn't skinny. He isn't like a little twerp or, you know, a little weird little boy or anything, right? He has, you know, muscles and stuff, because as far as he's concerned, Mirage doesn't have a quirk, and Mirage did it all with technology, okay? So then you see the villain, like all these people, like, you know, not surrounding him, but like trying to get away from him while all these decoys are moving around. He's like, come on, you can catch me. Basically, he's doing all the stuff that a Mirage would be doing, okay? He's kind of like, you know, taunting him, and the villain's getting angrier and angrier. And then he sees Deku right next to Mirage, and he's like, let me guess, you're the real one. And so he starts like charging at Deku or whatever. And we could just say he's like a big gorilla or something, charging at Deku. And then Deku, like, you know, tries to send out another decoy or whatever, but it doesn't work. Cause like, I guess you could say like his battery's low. That's what we're gonna go with. The battery's low, it's not hitting. And then Mirage be like, let me show you how it's done, kiddo. And then he's like, Quacha. And then like, you see him like go invisible for a brief moment in time. And then he says, time to bamboozle. And then you just boom, boom, boom. You see 3 different clones pop out of 3 different directions. And everyone's like, oh, it's the Apex Legend hero. Mirage, the bamboozler or something. I don't know what they would call him. If you got an idea, put it down in the comments. And so, yeah, Mirage is like, oh yeah. And then he's like, I love the fans, I love the fans. Like, yeah, I have some of the clones, like, saying, thank you, my autographs, I will give it to you momentarily. And Deku's just awestruck, like, this is my hero, this is the dude, he's so cool, he's so this. So with that being said, you know, the main dude is like, I am so sick and tired of these clones. And then before, you know, he could say anything, he's like, you know, Mirage is like right in front of him, like, what's up with it? And he's like, I'm not gonna waste my time with you. He moves around looking for the real Mirage, and then Mirage behind him. You've been bamboozled. Him, huh? And then, you know, get hit with a couple, like, you know, a punch kick. You know, something like that. I'm not gonna say Mirage is gonna do nothing too special. And then boom, you know, he takes down the villain, and you know, he's posing. He's like, yeah, Mirage is the best. You know, you just dancing and hitting all that shit, right? And everyone's like, yeah, Mirage. And then everyone's like, behind you. Him, he's like, huh? And then the gorilla gets back up and just like, yeah, I got you now. He grabs the dude, he grabs Mirage. Mirage is like, uh-oh, I'm kind of in a tight spot right now. No worries, I got this. He's actually pretty much stuck, and Deku's like panting because like his hero is getting like, you know, hurt and like getting squeezed tighter and tighter on some type of shit, okay? No pun intended. And Deku's sweating. He's like, oh no, what am I gonna do? No. And then it happens. Mirage is like, okay, and this is where I die. Okay, and I'm fading. Oh yeah, I'm dying. Yeah, I'm not gonna respond, damn I. And Deku jumps up, comes through, and then just throws the hardest punch he can, and he just keeps punching and punching and punching and punching and punching, and eventually he lets go. Mirage is like barely conscious. Barely conscious, goes invisible, and sends out a whole bunch of decoys. And then he starts, you know, applying, you know, first aid to himself. He's basically using a med kit from Apex. And so he does that, and then like, you know, he begins to like mend his wounds, okay? He's like, whew, that was a close call. He sends a decoy out to where Deku's at, and he's like, hey, thanks, kid. You really saved my behind back there. And he's like, all right, time to get serious. And then he says, Mirage. And then he says, Bonjour, or something to that effect. And then, boo, a whole bunch of clones start popping out. And then what happens is, each time he, you know, goes in for a punch, all the clones do the same thing. But the problem is, one is the real one. So he just keeps getting hit, until basically he's just knocked down. And then he's like staggering, and then Mirage is like, oh, no, you don't. And then he shoots him with a gun. But let's just say, for the sake of my hero, it's not like super lethal, but then he gets shot, and now he's incapacitated. And then he's like, see, I told you I had it under control. He realized he has to play it off. And he's like, see, my little protege right here. He grabs Deku. It's actually a clone too, so it looks even worse. He's like, see, protege's so good, he can even fool me. But I grabbed my protege here, and together we knew we was gonna take care of business. He knew where to find me, and blah, 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 and all sorts of stuff like that, okay? Now, after this fact is during, you know, the time he's trying to get to the UA entrance exam, and Mirage is just like, oh, I help you out, kiddo. You can get in with a recommendation by yours truly. And Deku's like, wait, for real? He said, of course, I got you. And then Deku's like, you're so cool. And he's like, I know, keep your containment. But we're gonna have to get you trained up to speed. And he's like, for real? And he's like, yeah. And, you know, Deku was like, okay. He was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah. He's like, all right. So first things first, we're gonna have to, you know, upgrade your gear. You can't be, you know, copying my drip without, you know, matching it, of course. And Deku's like, all right, sure, no problem. So they spend, half of the months, working on the, hologram equipment and different ways to do decoys or different ways to deploy them and stuff. Mm. And so with this being said, your boy Deku is like enjoying his time. Also, Mirage is making him do a routine. Now, the funny thing about this routine, the funny thing about this routine is the simple fact is he's making Deku do stuff he can never do himself. He's like, all right, I'm gonna need you to do about 100 push-ups a day, sit-ups, and all sorts of stuff. Also, I need you to do a 10-kilometer run, drink plenty of juice. And he's just telling this dude like a slew of different like routines. And he's like, if you want to be like me, you got to be able to move. You can make sure you never drink any alcohol. And we're going to call this the Mirage plan, all right? And he's just going on milking it, just like, big heavy, big heat, just talking master. Deku's just taking every ounce. So during these months or whatever, that's what he's doing. He's doing this and he's training his body to like physical perfection almost. All right. So around the 6-month march, well, I think it was 9 months. Yeah. So around the 6 months or so, he's like, all right, so look, I know someone, don't get me wrong. She's a pretty cool chick. And, she's pretty good when it comes to hand. So I think she could show you a couple moves or so. Yeah, don't get me wrong now. She's not as awesome and amazing as I am, but she's pretty cool herself. And portal opens up. Mirage starts sweating. He realizes that she was behind him the whole time. And then she's like, okay, I see. I'm gonna go. And then Mirage is like, wait, raped. And Deku's like, the dimensional hero, raped. And so and Mirage is like, listen, please. He idolizes me, and I'm trying to help him get into UA. And could you write and he's got like one hand like begging, basically. It's like, could you write a recommendation? And she's like, why would I do this? And basically, he scoots her to the side of where, listen, this kid doesn't got a power. He doesn't got a quirk. He got nothing. And I also kind of feel bad for the kid a little bit. I heard. Do I want to make that canon? Nah, but he told me about how his mom's always worrying about him and this and that, and I just want to help the kid out, please, Mirage. And she's like, fine, but you're gonna owe me. And she was like, yeah, of course, all right. Now, my disciple Wraith, don't push it. My best buddy here, or my best friend here, decided that she was gonna, help you out here and, teach you some hand-to-hand combat. Y'all two have fun. And then Deku was like, what are you gonna go do, Mr. Mirage? He's like, drop the mister. I'm not that old. And so, he's like, I'm gonna go do some, he looks at the case of alcohol, training. He's like, oh, okay. And then Mirage basically dips out. And then Wraith is like, all right, let me see. All right, kid, show me what you're working with. And then basically she's like, hop through the portal. And they go to an island. That's, not really, we're gonna be cliche and just use the, trope island. And so they spend some time cleaning it up, but with Wraith's help, it goes pretty fast. And Wraith's like, all right. So we're gonna have it like where Wraith's like in like a sports bra. Basically, she's in like some workout clothes or whatever. She's stretching. She's like, all right, kid, show me what you're working with. And Deku's like, all right. And then he takes like a weird, wacky stance, and then he's like, I see this dude really did copy Mirage. He's like, all right, how about we don't do that? And Deku's like, why not? She's having vivid memories of how Mirage lost fights or lost hand-to-hand because he was trying to be cool. How about we just do something a little more like this? He takes like a different slightly stance, corrects, some imbalances. And he's like, all right, whatever you say. And Deku's just like, all right, here I go. And then he charges at Wraith. And so they start fighting. Good hands, none too major. Good hands. And then Wraith's voice says, low kick. She jumps up and then looks and he's like, all right, good. start hitting this dude with, a couple of punches. And then Deku rolls out of the way, sends multiple decoys away. And then Wraith's like, please. And then Deku actually turned around fast enough to run with the decoys to make it look like he wasn't one. And then he goes in for a punch, hits Wraith, and then he starts unleashing combos, and the Wraith starts doing hand signs, and Deku realizes it, and then she like warps behind him, and he's like, wait, huh? And then before he could even realize what was going on, he got kicked down to the ground. And then he's like, hey, you've been bamboozled. And then Mirage is like, wait, what? And then behind her is Deku. He just goes in for like, a couple of kicks, punches. Good hands. And then Mirage is like, caught off guard, and she backs up a little bit, and she's like, well, kid, got some moves. He's like, yeah, I learned from the best, Mirage. And she's like, poor kid. He's gonna be so let down. And he's like, wait, what did you say, Miss Mirage? He's like, it's okay, kid. You can drop the miss. He's like, all right, Mirage. I mean, not Mirage, Wraith, my apologies. And so then he goes in for, more attacks and more furies and stuff. And then they just basically, they spend most of the day fighting. And by the, the end of the day, they're pretty much tired. And she's like, this kid might actually be better at fighting than Mirage. Hey, quick question. What was your name? Izuku? He's like, you could just call me Deku. Deku. Isn't that like something? She says the positive version of the name. He's like, oh, no, actually, a person that bullies me says this and that. And he's like, oh, really? What's his name? Katsugo Bakugo, but I just call him Kachan, but yeah. And so they have a brief discussion about that. So they finish out most of the time training and stuff. And she writes, the letter of recommendations, like, just in case you don't get in, just in case you don't get in, you can use this. And Deku was like, okay, thanks. So wait, did you write this, or did Mirage write this? And she's like, I'm gonna regret this. Mirage wrote this. He's like, oh, even better. And then he's all excited, and Mirage is just really feeling down. I mean, Wraith is really feeling bad for this kid, all right? And so after all of this happens, oh my God, I'm sorry. After all this happens, they basically just keep training for a little bit of time, and just keeps, Deku's getting more and more accustomed to fighting hand to hand. And the Wraith is like, hey, do you know how to fight with any weapons? And he said, no, not really. He said, all right, well, you're gonna need a couple of weapons, because there will be times your decoys and your invisibility won't be enough. And he's like, for real? He's like, yeah. Every person here has some type of power, some type of ability, just slightly different than, the way all the people around here work. And he's like, oh, for real? Even Mirage? Yes, even Mirage. And so, boom. She's like, all right, look here. I'm gonna give you a weapon. Please use it wisely. And she's like, wait, what? Here, this was something that was given to me a long time ago, and now I'm passing it on to you. And Deku was like, wait, what is it? It's an heirloom. It's one. Each legend has their own heirloom. He's like, for real? Yep. He's like, I'm gonna give you mine. He's like, Deku's like, wait, I can't take. He's like, and Wraith's like looking at him with a stern look. Calm down. It's okay. Anytime you're feeling, hopeless, anytime you're scared, grab this and clench this and roar, or something to that effect. And he's like, thank you very much. I'll make sure to make y'all proud. And Wraith is just like, he really got him one. This kid got more hurt than Mirage does, huh? He's like, all right, thank you. And so, they pretty much finish up there. Then, Deku goes as per usual. This Deku also is a lot more confident. He's a lot more swag related kind of individual, and he knows how to dance. He's got a lot of one-liners and stuff. Some he stole from Mirage, some he made up himself. Kind of like a Jordan to Kobe relationship in the sense of like how he views it. But so with this being said, yeah. So he's walking or whatever. He doesn't even like fall or anything. Like he just keeps it moving. And like he's real confident. He passed the exam with, pretty high grades, if not perfect. Then when it comes to like the 0 point robot or whatever, he like, you know, goes in and, you know, he does what he needs to do. He starts destroying robots left and right. And the robot's too busy with his decoys that he comes in and hits it at a weak spot. And then once he does that, he starts using like pieces and stuff of the robot to like start mashing and dashing and just crashing stuff. And also he goes invisible for some parts of the episode, and like he acts like he's finishing some of the other people's robots, so he's stealing points from other people on the low. And so after enough time has passed, your boy Deku's like, yeah, I'm in this bitch, I'm doing my thing. Then he sees everyone like getting almost done, but then he hears like a crackle. And he sees like this giant 0 point robot about to come out. So what he does was he sends a whole bunch of his decoys behind him. And like surrounding almost the area. And he's telling everyone, y'all need to go. A 0 point robot is coming, or like a giant robot's coming. Everyone starts to run, and Deku's running himself. He starts running himself, and he's like, oh crap, look over there. And he sees, you know, Uraraka, and he's like, Deku actually turns to run, but then he thinks, what would Mirage do? And then he thinks about how cool Mirage is. Mirage would just run in there, no hesitation, and just save the day. So Deku does the same thing. And so he runs over there and he helps her out. And since this version of Deku is extremely physical fit, right? He like hops, he like throws the rock off her with fair ease or whatever, picks her up, and he sees a 0 point robot, and he's like, he looks at it as like a decoy cloning thing or whatever we want to call it. I don't know what the actual name is. He looks at it and realizes like, damn, I'm getting low on battery. Well, here we go. I don't like to use this, but he sends out a decoy, or we could just call it an SD. And that's just like a super decoy that actually can, you know, hold things and punch things. It doesn't do much damage, but it's good enough for him to hold, you know, something. And so the 0 point robot's walking towards him, and he's like, what would Mirage do? What Mirage do? What would he do? What would he do? He would use his intellect. He would think, that's it. So what he does is he uses the rest of his battery and like just sends out a flurry of, you know, decoys climbing up on the robot and stuff, right? While he's invisible. So while this is happening, Deku's grabbing like all sorts of like robot chunks and different pieces and stuff, and he's making it into like, you know, some type of weapon. And so then since don't forget this version of Deku is very strong, right? So once he does all this, he can feel it too. Like he can hear low battery, battery insufficient, powering down momentarily. And Deku's trying to hurry up and finish because the 0 point robot's actually getting distracted by hitting itself a little bit, trying to like, you know, get off all the decoys and stuff. And all you hear in the background is bamboozled. You've been bamboozled. Try better next time. And all of this stuff, okay? And then Deku's just smacking. I mean, not Deku, but the robot. And then while this is happening, Deku's just spinning. And then boom. Basically, he makes like a big shuriken kind of like thing and aims it straight at the robot. And the robot sees him and then he goes in for the attack, but by the time that happens, the robot gets hit straight inside and it starts to fall down. And Deku's like, I did, no. And he starts running as the robot's falling, running. He eventually starts hauling ass so fast that he catches up with the decoy that he left with Uraraka to take her somewhere else. And then Deku's like, he like tells the decoy to throw her to him, and he grabs her and just starts running. And then that, ladies and gents, is where we're gonna leave this part off. If you like these longer what ifs, let your boy know, and I will know because I will see if people watch them or not. Until next time.